Before we get into today's episode of the Brisbane Lions Fancast, do want to give a shout out to anyone especially listening on the Monday when this episode does come out, to my co-host Patrick. It is his birthday today, so if you do want to reach out, get in touch via socials or email and just say a happy birthday, I'm sure he would love that. Obviously, I'm joking, he would absolutely hate that, but I do want to say a happy birthday to Patrick and thank him for joining me again for this year of the podcast, and as usual, a huge shout out and a thank you to our sponsors for 2024, Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. If you want to check those guys out and book yourself a brewery tour or help your small or medium-sized business out with some marketing, all the links are available at our website, brisbanelionsfancast.com.au, or check them out on socials as well. Just search for Crisp Communications or Hop On Brewery Tours, of course, making the podcast possible for 2024. All right, let's do it.
Slides it across the face. Morris athletically drills it home. Brilliant effort from Lohman. On the left, bends it goalward. Magnificent. Lohman will wind up from 49. He'll just pin the ears back and slot it. Danaher, 60 out. Low, flat, straight. He's going to end back with Lachie Neale, who started it all. And he's good enough to finish it.
It is the Brisbane Lions Fancast with JB and Patrick. All thanks to Hop On Brewery Tours and Crisp Communications. Round 24 done and dusted. The home and away season is behind us. We finish in 5th. Who are we going to be playing week 1 of the finals? Well, we may find out in real time during this podcast, because as we speak, the third quarter of Fremantle and Port Adelaide have just started, and at this stage it looks like we'll be playing Carlton. But there's still plenty of footy to be played, so we'll see how that goes over the course of the show. Let's have a chat about our game, though, where we beat Essendon, and we put together 3 quarters of good footy, 1 quarter of putrid footy, 11 goals, 21, 4 out of bounds on the full. It was a pretty quintessential Brisbane display, but one key difference being we got the win, so that's a positive, I suppose, but you know, after the game, a lot of Lions fans felt pretty hollow after that win because the same problems were very clearly still there for us all to see.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it?
No.
I think our interchange during the game / after the game was pretty indicative, where, to be honest, it was an absolutely dreadful game to watch on TV. It was so boring because both teams were just slowing the ball down. And I think I just messaged you and said it's a pretty rough watch. It's so dull. And you immortally uttered the words, I would take a dull win over, what's happened the last couple of weeks, essentially. And then we proceeded to get both a dull game
yep.
and the same thing that happened the weeks before. So we got the worst of both worlds, but we got the win. So is that a fair trade? Who knows? Not me, but it was not a good game.
No, certainly wasn't my favourite. Certainly was not my favourite, but we did sew up 5th spot, so that's got to count for something. As I said, the same problem's still there. We didn't get out to a huge first quarter lead. We got it out to a best part of 50 points at some point during the third quarter, and then the last quarter was just plenty of silly mistakes. We barely hit the scoreboard, turnover city, hack kicks, dump kicks that were going to Essendon players. They were able to score it fairly easily on transition. So, yeah, the same problems were still there, but they're
just not very good.
Yeah, so I mean, a better team definitely would have got us. If we were playing GWS or Collingwood again, or any of the teams in the top 8 at the moment, they definitely would have run us down. We're just lucky that Essendon is fairly junk and didn't really have much to play for, so... Yeah,
Essendon sort of lacked the ability to kind of put speed on a game in a way that I think in about the second quarter I just sort of said, Essendon are probably the only team that can't actually fully do what happened to us, and they didn't, so I guess points for me for that assessment. But yes, going into the game, Berry was fine. Starcevic seemed to get Berry's injury somehow.
Yeah, he just handballed that one off, didn't he?
Yep, so just straight off. Should he have stayed on last week and got us the win? Maybe, but who knows? So we had two changes, and Noah Answorth came in, which I think we were both happy about, and the mystery man that we were not factoring in at all came back as well, Connor McKenna. And make of that what you will. Was it just a two-finger to Essendon? Possibly.
Yeah, we lost Shadowbrain as well, so Shadowbrain got dropped. 2 defenders in, 2 defenders out. Kenny was, I guess, a change that not a lot of people were forecasting or hoping for. People wanted Noz in, and I'm glad he came in. To be fair, they both had fairly alright games, so not too much.
I think McKenna surprisingly took a bit of pressure off Zorko.
Yep.
In terms of being able to take the inside kick. And maybe that's something that they wanted to kind of dabble with earlier on in the season, but kind of couldn't, just because McKenna was in such poor form that when Zorko does get clamped, it can lead to a little bit of predictability, and it does lead to long down the line. So maybe that's a thing going forward. I mean, I don't hate it. I want defenders defending rather than defenders world beating. But, here we are. Doing what we can with the players that we've got.
Yeah, and look, I was actually quite happy when the first quarter was a bit of a tighter tussle, because obviously the last couple of weeks we were up by 30-odd points at quarter time, and we all know what's happened. So it was nice to see a little bit of difference there, and I thought by and large we were in control for most of that game. The last quarter aside, that was just very different to the first 3 quarters. I thought we obviously still didn't put as much pressure on the scoreboard as we could have, but I thought we were by far and away the better team across the night.
Yeah, we were definitely in control, and then we just lost control in that last sort of 10, 15 minutes where it turned into like really frantic. And it kind of goes to what I've been saying, where I just feel like maybe we're just lacking a bit of legs. Long season, short preseason, injuries, and not a lot. Like, we've had a lot of players, but there've been a lot of people not expecting to play a lot of games. Fuck, we kicked 21 behinds.
Yep.
The more you look at it, the weirder it gets. I can't understand it. So.
21 behinds, 4 out on the full as well. So yeah, the goal kicking is obviously going to be a talking point again for the 3rd week in a row. Fags has already addressed it, and it was good to hear him sound a little bit annoyed and frustrated by it in the post-match press conference. Like, it's the first time he's sort of visibly shown a little bit of annoyance about the whole thing. He says, yeah, I know I'm, trying to make fun of it, but it's pissing me off. It's obviously something
he's pulling his very meager amount of hair out because of it. You feel bad for him because he's,
because we got to win now. That at the end of the day, the equation is simple. We got to win now. We can't lose any more games, and putting in performances like that is going to lose games, especially when you see what some of the teams are doing. And I do thank God that one of the Bulldogs and Hawthorn will be out after week 1, because you see what Hawthorn are doing to teams. They're not fading. They obviously had those 2 games where they were in similar positions to us, once against Port Adelaide and again against GWS, where they had a 5-goal lead and then they ended up getting pipped by under a goal in the end. The Port Adelaide game was just a complete anomaly in so many different ways. But, they've had that too. But since then, they just, it's North Melbourne, but it was also pissing down, and they still won by over 100 points. They smacked Carlton by 70, 80 points. Richmond, they're putting teams away. They're not having these lapses during games. So, stuff like that we just haven't been able to do. The 9-week period we did in patches. The St Kilda game, the Bulldogs game, the Port game were obviously the standouts, big away wins where we just dominated from start to finish. But, even the Melbourne game, it was a hold on. The other St Kilda game at the Gabba was, maybe Adelaide as well. The West Coast game, there was moments within all of those matches where, the form fluctuated. We obviously still got all the wins, but it caught up with us when we came up against GWS and Collingwood. So it's not exactly the confidence booster we wanted heading into finals, is it?
No, well, just to touch on Hawthorn, I suppose given the weighted ladder situation, the ability to have played Richmond twice, North Melbourne twice, and West Coast one does help. It might only be a couple of games, and they've won games against good teams as well, but they're definitely bullying some of the shit teams. Yeah, I gotta say. So, our game was definitely not a confidence builder by any stretch, but I said it just earlier on in Discord and was resoundingly ignored, and justifiably so. That I don't think it taught us anything about how good our best is, because it's still I think is still the best, but it's just our worst is so much worse than everybody else's.
Yeah,
That's still in the competition, so
it's been a problem for a while. Just our floor to ceiling ratio is just that gap is so big, and as you said, our best is obviously electric. We can put on scores in a hurry and big time as well, but the I guess it's that mental side of the thing as well. When 1, 2, 3, 4 players start missing goals, and then it gets contagious, and it happens to too many players in the same. Yeah.
We're just going to be repeating ourselves, and
Yeah, I mean, that is. Yeah. We will be, but look, at this stage, just off the bat, if you had to choose, and like I said, we'll probably find out in real time during this show. If you wanted to play Carlton or Freo in week 1, either way, it'll be at the Gabba, which is great.
I would rather play Freo, to be honest.
Someone made a great point in Discord saying that their fans are less likely to travel, and we all know how the Carlton game at the Gabba last year was. It barely felt like a home game. So
that's on the AFL, and that's horse shit, to be honest. The fact that can happen is a bit of a travesty to people that go to every game at the Gabba. It's a home final. You've earned it. It's a home final. So, plus also Fremantle kicking more behinds than goals. So it will be one for the ages in terms of accuracy and efficiency. So they need to pull out. Well, they're currently 8 points behind, but they got to pull something out.
And both teams are a bit of an unknown quantity as well. Like Carlton, who knows, with Mackay and Curnow. I mean, you'd have to think those guys will be back. De Koning as well. Like, where's he at with his injuries? I know he was due to miss the rest of the season. I don't know if that was home and away or if he's back for finals. There's talk that Doherty might be back, which would be, I don't know, strange. But Freo, the same thing as well. Like, is Pearce going to be back? Is Josh Tracy going to be back? Are those teams going to rush players back if they're not 100%? Because they know they sort of have to get the win.
Well, Walsh and Cripps look pretty battered as well. So
Walsh is so sore, man. That back injury he's been carrying for such a long time, and it just doesn't seem to be getting any better.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's bring it on. I think we should be winning regardless, but different looking teams. Did you watch the Carlton St Kilda game?
I did, yeah. I mean, I watched 75% of it.
Did you see that? Like, they had kind of all the people watching in like the bowels of the stadium together on a TV, like all of the injured players, and then they bloody cut to Curnow just up in the coach's box. Like, why would he not be down there with his mates watching the game? What? Why? Like, does he not like them? Do they not like him?
Don't know. Maybe he just wanted a different view to see how it might affect how he's going to play. I don't know.
Maybe it's also just that Carlton needed an extra person in their coach's box of 75 people.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, we got a spare seat. Now back to our game. Obviously, Brisbane Essendon. Joey's 200th, who had a Joe game. He missed a I guess in air quotes, a gettable set shot, and then moments later kicked a very Joe goal, sort of, arcing out on the left from 60 metres, which was a beautiful thing to watch. Kicked another great goal, which evidently got overturned, which was great.
That one makes no sense because the Snicko didn't actually line up with when the ball was in line with the post, so I don't actually understand how that worked.
Well, he kicked the goal, and I took that as my opportunity to go to the toilet, and then I came back, and then the guy sitting next to me was like, Joe's goal got overturned, so I didn't actually say it.
Yeah, well, it was weird. Like, they show you, obviously they try and sync the Snicko, what do they call it? Edge?
Yep.
Cool, nice one. Just call it Snicko. Everyone's watched cricket in the 90s. Like Hawkeye, Snicko, bring them all back. Just call them the same shit. Yeah, it looked like the ball was past the post when the noise happened. So, I don't know. That seems stupid, but maybe they just, got the footage wrong, or it was corruption. One of them. Who knows? But denied. Load of shit. And if that goal had gone through, we would have won by 57 points. So...
There was some seriously strange umpiring decisions across the night, and I think it was typified by that holding the ball that was paid to Rayner, where he literally grabbed it, and as he grabbed it, he was getting tackled. No prior opportunity whatsoever, pinged, and then moments later, Jake Kelly had 3-4 seconds of prior, tackled, disposed of it incorrectly, play on. Rayner did get away with one a little bit earlier on in the piece, so... I mean, swings and roundabouts and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, there was some strange stuff in there.
Yeah, the holding the ball stuff has to be fixed because it's so impossible for anyone to actually know what's going on. And it doesn't work because the amount of times that you see people dispose of the ball incorrectly or whatever, like it doesn't work. It's not like you couldn't explain it to someone. Like how are you supposed to say, oh, so the rule is this? Yeah, no, it's not going to work. It's not happening. Like fix it. Like they're not going to. They'll probably be like, actually, we're going to make the 666 have like 2 extra things so you can do a power play. Like in the Big Bash, and bring one person back for 1 stoppage. Please delete that so that they don't get it. Handles are everywhere. Kyle Lohmann was pretty bloody good.
Yeah, big time. And Charlie had a great game as well.
Charlie also was pretty bloody good, I'd say.
And I was worried because Andy McGrath did a number on him last time, especially up here at the Gabba. So I thought, ooh.
He's done it like the last 3 or 4 times.
Yeah,
like Charlie Cameron hasn't had a sniff against Essendon in quite a while, and. Yeah, I think when he got the early goal, really good, set the tone really well for him, and it just gave like McGrath kind of pause. Even though McGrath got a lot of the ball, like it, 3 goals, beautiful.
The midfield was.
Love it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, good to hear Country Roads getting belted a few times at the Gabba. Midfield was like they were all really good. McCluggage, Ashcroft, Neal had another great game. I thought Dunkley had a superb game as well. After a couple of weeks where they have sort of lowered their colours in and around stoppage, I thought that the midfield had a great game as well, as a collective.
Yeah, I think they definitely like lifted, and I mean, other than sort of merit, they're kind of a bit lacking, Essendon. I know Parrish is there, but I don't rate Parrish. He just looks weird.
Yeah.
A small lost child. And Durham's kind of like, although he's gotten better this year, I think it's funny because someone put up some statistics that are like, he's gone from where he was to being a perfectly average midfielder, perfectly cromulent, you might say. So there's that. But yeah, we should have torched them, and we did for the most part, but then we opted to stop torching them. Lachie Neale was fantastic.
Yeah. 3
Brownlow votes, so keep that one in mind in a few weeks. Going into this round, for sure. I know Zach Merritt got a lot of the ball too, but I think Neale was better.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say so as well. Merritt had a great game. Like, not going to take anything away from him. He might pinch a Brownlow vote or 2, but I think Lachie will probably sew up the 3. His 2 weeks leading up to this, though, were pretty quiet, and Cripps has come home with a wet sail, so he'll poll heavily in the last couple of rounds. So, I mean, Brownlow would be interesting to see, but I think Lachie will be thereabouts. The forwards, Eric had a quiet night, ended up getting subbed. Still did all the things we know Eric can do, running up and down the wings, creating contests, bring the ball to ground, links quite well, but still quiet by his standards. He's working back into it from that groin.
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's not bad to see him subbed out, although with him subbed out, everything fell apart forward structure, so who knows sort of what's going on with that at this stage. Like, I'm happy with them I'm like glad of the week off for our fellas. Yeah. I think Logan Morris also did some pretty good things. Like contested mark, really great mark, but his set shot kicking has just kind of gone to shits. That can be said for a lot of people.
Yeah, he's not alone there. One of the key points from the Collingwood game was the selfishness and finding players in better positions and all that sort of stuff. And there were definitely moments in this game where there was overcorrection.
Yeah, Rayner got it wrong 2 or 3 times where he went for goal and then went to pass, and you just like, dude, just don't wheel onto your left foot and try and like kick from 55. Just kick a goal normally or pass it. And then the other one where he was like running in on his normal foot under no pressure and passed it. It's like, come on, Cam Rayner, like get back to where you were.
Morris as well in that third or last quarter where he had an open shot for goal, decided to try and chip it over the top to Joe, and it got spoiled, got a rebound 50, and like those moments you just got to take as well if you're Morris. But it's
that was a mark.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of those. There's the umpiring with Joe, and we'll get to that in the questions because we've definitely got a couple about that, and especially when you compare it to some other key forwards in the competition. it's ludicrous behaviour. But other than that, like Berry still playing that sort of midfield half-back role. Like since Ashcroft's come into the team, Berry's role's changed quite noticeably. But he's helping a lot in the back half, which is good to see. It's probably like there was that period of 6-7 weeks where Berry was playing some really good footy and he was inside mid. Now that inside mid time has been cut back with Ashcroft coming back in. He's still playing good footy. It's just not the noticeable good footy that we saw from Bez earlier on, and I think that just comes down to the role change.
And it's important, I think.
Yeah.
Little Fletcher. I thought he was really good, and he had like 2 bad moments, and they were the ones that seemingly have defined him in a lot of people's eyes, where he got caught holding the ball, and there was one other thing. But it's just like when I look at him, I'm like, this guy is going to be like a 250 gamer for us, and is going to be so good and fly under the radar for so many years, and he's just going to continue getting better and better.
Yeah, I think so
that's
too.
That's all I have to say about him.
Yeah, he's like definition role player. Same with Moddy as well. Like he just keeps going from strength to strength, Moddy, and he's just, along with Zorko, really just being consistent across the whole year in that back line.
Did you see Zorko like when he gave away a free kick for like bodying in the marking contest and like told the umpire to look at the screen and was like, "You're dreaming, mate," and it was just like he just barreled into the dude.
He just went straight into the side of Draper, and you're like, "Oh, buddy." I mean,
also Draper not abiding by snap zones, so don't really know what the hell's going on there.
I thought Oscar played well against Draper because Oscar's had
he was bloody juice.
Yeah, his last two weeks have been along with a lot of others, but I thought last week in the ruck he was all right. It was around the ground where Darcy Cameron really got a hold of him, but I thought Oscar's game was much better this week.
Draper's a pretty weird guy, and like I know ruckmen are kind of weird by definition, but I wouldn't want Draper in my team. I would find it very difficult to have that guy running around. He's almost like a weird imitation Luke Jackson.
Yeah.
Where he's not half as good as he thinks he is. But what can you do?
Dara,
yeah.
I thought Dara had a good game.
Yeah, he was okay. Kind of some strange decisions aerially, which Langford took advantage of, but Langford's pretty awkward matchup, I think, on the whole. And
then he got caught out one-on-one with Stringer heading back to the goal square, and that's no one wants to be in that position. And that's not on him. I think it was just a turnover in the wrong spot, and he got caught out and just was left to scramble. But I thought by and large Dara had a good game. Yeah,
I think of our defense, it's almost like Harris was better, but Harris and Froggy seem to just be a little bit down on form the last few weeks. So it's probably reflecting more poorly on the others around them. But nothing really wrong with that. It's the sort of thing where, like, you'd love Payne to come in for finals, but if he doesn't get up, it's not like it is what it is.
Well, Fags confirmed Jack Payne will play VFL this week. In the week we've got the pre-finals bye, so that'll be a good contest for him. See if his foot can get through, and it doesn't fracture him out a little bit more. So if he can get through
Splinter further,
if he can get through that, it'll be good to definitely have him as an option, especially if it's Carlton, because Kerno Mackay, we're going to need a big body for one of those if those guys are indeed playing. So we know that Jack Payne's taken the Kerno matchup before and played it quite well, so both of them will be coming back from longish term injuries, so they'll both be on one leg, so it'll even out, I guess.
Yeah, I think I would probably prefer, I think everyone would prefer Payne to be back in, but we'll wait and see. Hopefully he gets through the VFL.
Yeah, and at this stage, that VFL fixture's not confirmed yet.
It'll be an away fixture, right?
Yes, yeah, it will be. So the wild card round just completed today. Williamstown and Frankston will make up the 8 in the VFL, and we will be taking on, if you give me uno momento,
should be playing second, so it'll be
Footscray. So
Whitten Oval?
I mean, yeah, probably.
Maybe I'll go to that. That's next week.
No times or dates or anything at this stage, but yeah, Footscray have put in another good season, so we'll see what we can do. We beat them earlier in the year. I do remember that when Footscray were undefeated, we handed them their first loss, so We know we can beat them, and that, I believe, was at their home ground as well, if I remember correctly. Can't really remember, though. There should be a few AFL-listed players playing the VFL. Like, I don't know if Noah will play, Kenny, Brain, all that sort of stuff. Where Bruce is at as well. I'm not sure where he's at with his leg, so he might play in that game as well, depending on the fitness and stuff of all those guys, or Fags will probably rest those ones they don't want to risk any injury to either, so aside from Payne.
Beautiful. Well, I look forward to that. How did you vote?
Yeah, it's a tough one this week, but it was a week for the midfielders. So for me, Neil the 3, Ashcroft the 2, Dunkley the 1, and these votes are for hoponbrewerytours.com.au. Book yourself a half for a full day tour. So yeah, it was all about the midfield for me, especially after a couple of quiet weeks. I thought they all, like I said, I thought they all performed their roles quite well, and I could have given one to McCluggage, and I could have tossed that 3-2-1 around quite a bit as well. But I thought Neil, especially just his forward of the ball stuff, and he's hitting the scoreboard, and spoken about his ball use improving. So, 3-2-1 for me.
Too easy. I went 3 Neil, 2 Lohman, 1 Dunkley.
Yeah, Lohman is probably the only one outside the midfield that I considered for voting, because he faded as the game wore on, but he was really impressive. His aerial work, that goal from outside 50, ridiculous, and it went through post height as well. That was huge. Yep. Absolutely huge. So,
that said, Ashcroft did also get a triple-double, so needed 7 more tackles, but I don't think that it was a high enough pressure game to even warrant 2 more tackles. So
he's coming into form at the right time, which is good. So his last 3 or 4 weeks have been really, really good, like high 20s disposals, finding a bit more of the ball.
He's kind of impacting in burst as much as anything, because he's had good first quarters, kind of when we're up and about. He seems to be doing all right. But, Ashcroft, I think, is... I think a lot of our guys will be good for the week's rest. Yeah, there's quite a few of them. I think between Ashcroft, the young ones, so I think Lohman and Morris, and just the ones that have probably had niggles. I can see like Harrison Froggy just relaxing the hell out next week, and it's going to be great.
Well, the post-match interview with Dunkley as well, he straight up said, "Man, I'm sore." So I'm sure he'll be looking forward to the week off as much as anyone. So. Yeah, the bye has definitely come at the right time. It served us well last time, clearly. So hopefully it'll have a similar effect for us again.
So 3/4 time here in this. I was critical of the fixtures, but man, did they pull it out because Jack Higgins pulled it out. Otherwise, would have been pretty bloody foolish. Yeah, Fremantle with more scoring shots. We've heard that narrative.
Yep.
And Port Adelaide with a bit of polish. So Port Adelaide are playing to retain second spot.
Yeah, they're locked in at second.
So I think it's just like they don't need to. If they lose by like 4 goals, then they drop down below Geelong. But something percentage-wise, who knows? So Carlton, kind of funny, to be honest. So I'm so like, of all of the things in this top 8 kind of thing, I'm just glad the Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn are playing each other, just to drop a form team out immediately.
Yeah.
And even GWS playing Sydney is good too, because I don't know what the hell happened down at Ballarat today. Like, it just seemed like it went bizarre. I don't know.
Bulldogs look good. Like, GWS had their moments for sure, but Bulldogs were just too good, way too good today. So they're obviously playing great footy, and I think that elimination final between the Dogs and the Hawks will be an absolute belter.
I think that's going to be one of the matches of the year.
I know, it's
sure.
Whilst I'm glad one of them's going to be gone, it's almost a shame that one of them will be gone, because I could definitely see either of them winning the flag under the right circumstances with the way they're playing their footy.
So I have a big question for you.
Yeah.
Are we still in the premiership window?
In the window, yeah. We've made it extremely hard for ourselves this year.
No. I mean the premiership window, brought to you by Gary Lyons.
Oh, that one. Let's have a quick look.
Because I'm pretty sure we are.
Yes. Yeah, we are. We've dropped down to 5th for points for, and we're 4th for points against. So we were sitting sort of third for each for a while. We've dropped down to 5th and 4th. But so technically that's still in the window, which is top 6 for both.
Well, it's going to be an interesting one when it's sort of like, I don't know who else is in that, Sydney and us or something. And then it's like, one of us has to win, but no one can win from outside the top 4. But Sydney can't win because they had a 100-point loss. So history's going to be completely thrown out the window this year. So I can't wait for that kind of mental gymnastics.
Well, Sydney has dropped out for points against. They're now 7th for points against.
Sydney out of the premiership window.
Bulldogs are 2nd and 3rd for those respective categories. I'll tell you who has found themselves right in that illustrious premiership window is Hawthorn. Find themselves 6th in both points for and against.
So we've got 3 teams that are outside the top 4 that are in it.
Yes. Port Adelaide, their points for is well down, so don't worry about them. But yeah, Hawthorn's now in the window, Bulldogs and us.
That's pretty funny. I wonder if Gary will bring that one in. They need to make him do the whole walk.
Oh no!
Pull all that shtick out, just purely for the fans. It's just about the only redeeming quality about Gary Lyons, but here we are. Beautiful.
Yeah. All right. Well, week 1, any changes you're going to make?
Yeah. Starcevich comes back in.
Yep.
I don't know who for. I mean, Sharp comes out.
Yeah.
Obviously, but yeah. Can we do questions first, and then hopefully the other game will be finished before I make these decisions?
Yeah, we can certainly get into some questions. The first one was sent through our speak pipe. It comes from Neil. So let's have a listen to what Neil has to say.
G'day, gents. Love your podcast. Love listening to it every week. I come away from the ground last night thinking, oh my God, here we go again. The same old frailty is showing. But woke up today, listened to Faye's press conference, and I loved his sense of humour and the way he's looking at things. And I just wondered, the experience of finals that our boys have got over the past 6 years now, I guess, how well that's going to help us in the next couple of weeks. So just wonder what you guys' thoughts are on the advantage that our experience can bring. Go Lions, and we'll kick you in the balls.
That's a shout out and a throwback to Winston Smith, whose kid thinks that those are the words to the song, and I bloody love that. So cheers, Neil, and thanks for listening, Neil, obviously, and the kind words. Yeah, I felt the same as Neil walking away from the game yesterday, with the same oh God. And I said it to you. I posted in the Discord. I posted as the Twitter status. I just said yuck, because it felt gross at the time. It was a win, but I didn't feel much better about the win. Like I said, I didn't feel it was the confidence booster I felt we needed. So as far as the finals experience, I mean, yeah, it's got to help, surely. Because as well as Hawthorn are playing at the moment, and they've obviously got Sam Mitchell at the helm, who's certainly played in a final here and there, if I remember rightly. He'll try and prep them as much as he can, but there's a lot
There's no way you can do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it unless you've done it. And that's sort of what we saw, a bit like us early on, where we just sort of seemed to we went out in straight sets, albeit, I think it was for the first 4 years we played finals, 3 years, 4 years, we got beaten by every grand finalist.
Yeah.
Which I know is probably pretty obvious, but when they're elimination finals and you finish top 2 and shit like that, it's pretty weird that we lost the Bulldogs and to GWS, and they both wound up playing grand final. So weird. And then also in those years played the grand final team in the other one. So what can you say about it? Not super sure. We've got experience, but also so does Sydney, so does Port, so does Geelong and the Giants, and that's kind of the top part. Bulldogs, yeah, they do, but I mean the Bulldogs are pretty flaky as well. Same with the Giants. Someone actually called it with the Giants. They said that their expected score and their accuracy would run out eventually.
Yeah, I think that was Rob in our Discord, I think, may have said that. But,
yeah.
And
it's nice to see that you can buck these trends that seem completely ingrained that you can't ever fucking do. So judging by this, we're going to kick 27 goals 3 next round.
I mean, I'd like that. I'd like that very much, please. Yeah, I mean, if we could get the opposite of that, where our expected score finally catches up with us and we do put in a performance like that, it'd be great. But yeah, I think the finals experience, it can only help. It can only help.
I think that's a really good point. And thank you to Neil for pointing that out to me. Because I certainly kind of you forget about it. I think that's sort of one of the things with supporting the Lions and where we are is that the privilege of playing finals is almost like a foregone conclusion. So I know when you're trying to take that kind of final step to win a premiership. Have you noticed as well people saying like we were a kick away from a grand final last year? Like they just say it and it's like, no, we were a kick away from a premiership. We were in a grand final. Like get it right. Probably Nick Del Santo or someone like fucking stupid like that. Yeah, finals pedigree, we've got it. And maybe things will just click because I don't know if you remember this, but when Hodgie was playing for us, he like turned a switch in those two finals and they were like his two best games for the club.
Yeah, big time.
Same with Birchall as well. Birchall, although he went out with like a hamstring in one of the finals, but they just decided like, nah, fuck this. Like we're in finals where we know what to do here. Like we know how to play these games. Yeah. And surely that's got to kind of have bled through into the team a little bit. Because that was absolutely noticeable in those years. Particularly the one with Hodgie. Particularly in the GWS one where you sort of, like, I don't know how these guys are going, what they're going to do. And then you just like hit in the face like Dyson Heppel, teeth knocked out everywhere. Hodgie, all over you. And now he's sort of all over the commercials, which is weird. I don't need a loan short term, to be honest, Hodgie. Please stop selling me a me loan.
Quick check on this Freo Port game. Hayden Young is on the bench getting looked at by the doctors, and Patrick Voss is lining up for goal. He's just squeezed it through, so they're down by 2 or 3 points. That's a weird alternate reality where I was the son of Michael Voss. Somehow playing for Fremantle because the Lions didn't want me. Like that seems like a very Michael Voss thing. But next question. That was a great one. All right, let's go to Instagram. Alex, are the Lions simply not fit enough? There's a lot of evidence that would point towards that being the case, and it's definitely been a question for sure. And I wonder if the shorter preseason has got anything to do with that, or just being up for so long in that 9-game winning streak. It is it's a long season. 24 rounds with the opening round in there, 2 buys. It is it feels like it is going forever. And which is great for me, a complete footy nuff, but it is
I mean, I've been critical of our fitness leading up to and including the GWS first game we played this year. And I was kind of unsure about what the training things were and the willingness to be at the club and whether or not, I don't know. But, I mean, the season is what it is. And I think it's probably just the repeated blows to the body that probably too much. It's been funny. We got a question last week talking about the Premier League coming back, and I was watching players playing that were players playing that had played. Players who had played in the European Cup or European Championship final for England that 30 days later were starting a new season.
Yeah.
And it's that's ridiculous. They got literally 2 weeks annual leave and that's it for the whole season. Other than that, it's just keep playing football. So I always kind of bring it back to that, but then they're absolutely ponces when it comes to getting bodied. So is half of one, 0.5 of the other, as that expression goes.
Yeah, I think definitely fitness is an issue. And you can see it with the way we come out of the blocks, put on 7-8 goals in the first quarter. We did it against Carlton. We did it these last couple of weeks, Collingwood and GWS, and the pressure drops off. We take our foot off the gas and we get run down. And even to a lesser extent, Essendon, who just probably didn't have the nous to do so because their ball movement was just atrocious. Like I said, another team would have run us down. Essendon didn't, but you could see that the same things were there and we just ran out of legs. So it comes into the bye coming at the right time.
Yeah, and just think with the last 10 minutes in these few games, it's just... Is there an element of robbing Peter to pay Paul in terms of we've been criticised in the past for lacking a bit of killer instinct sometimes with these games and almost going for that and then getting caught out because we've exerted too much. Is there some sort of game management Like, hey, just relax for this. Relax for 3 minutes every quarter, and you'll be sweet in the fourth quarter.
I'm sure there is all sorts of like weird science that goes into it, and I don't know who's in charge of that. But yeah,
Weird science.
Yeah,
Is that a TV show?
that's art.
I feel like that was a TV show. I don't know. Someone can tell us. Yeah. Next question.
Scott, who has touched on something you've already had a chat about here. Why does Rayner try to be unselfish when he's running inside 50 when he's supposed to be the man like a Dusty or DeGoey? He would hand off or try and hit a target, take responsibility, seem to lack self-belief. What are your thoughts on that one from Scott?
Stick it in the goal hole. That's all I got to say for him. Just, maybe not when you're wheeling onto your left and you've just taken a mark on the 50. Go back and kick the set shot. But other than that, just put it in the goal. I wouldn't want to say, like, what would Dusty do? What would DeGoey do? Like, get one of them, write it on your little arm tape and just be like, I'm going to be selfish as all hell.
I think, yeah, there's a time and place for that sort of stuff. And obviously there was the overcorrection we've spoken about on the selfishness and unselfishness and all that sort of stuff. And it's, as Fag said in the press conference, you'd probably rather them overcorrect that sort of thing because it's a nice, good problem to have. But yeah,
overcorrected in like round 7.
Yeah,
like and hardwire it into your brains because I'm sick of seesawing between like selfless and then like, oh, you're supposed to be the man. Also, like, you're being a dick. Well, like, just it can't be that hard to just assess the situation and go, all right, I've got a very good chance, rather than like trusting my abject skill of handballing, apparently, which I don't have. And I'm speaking as a collective here, but they should know. They should be able to tell. You played football for lots of years.
Yeah. I mean, there's just got to be those points.
I remember back in under 9s trying to handball the ball to this kid, Floyd, who never kicked a goal in the whole season. He was terrible. But man, I kept trying to kick him, like handball him the ball on the goal line. Never worked out. Poor Floyd never kicked a goal. And I have no idea what happened to that kid.
All right.
Don't be like Floyd or me.
Christopher, and this goes to the heart of a lot of Lions fans at the moment who probably are along the same line of thinking here. He says, I've always believed this team deserves one flag minimum. Is Fagan the right man for the job, or will he be the Ross Lyon of the Lions where we're always close, just not good enough? And how long will our window be open for? He finishes off with. So we have touched on this whole Fagan thing on and off, and yeah, while the list is good enough to have won a flag at this stage, obviously that's the thought process of a lot of people. Fagan is also really responsible for putting this list together, so it's sort of, you can't have one without the other. They spoke about that on the Raw deal last week as well. It was a great point that they made, that it's the same point a lot of Lions fans are making. It's like, this list is too good to not win a flag. But I still think our window's open. I think next year is going to be...
Our window's fine.
Yeah, so I think we've got another... Like, next year, someone asked me the other day, it's like, well, you've got McCarthy, Duday, Coleman, and Levi Ashcroft potentially to get in this team. Who are they going in for? And I really struggled to answer that question.
Yep.
So I think we've got at least another year.
And it just gives, like, I've been talking the whole year about we need to have like more rotations. Then all of our guys died, so we couldn't even try that thing out, because I do think that we've improved. Like, our squad has improved at a rate of knots by hook or by crook this year. So it's like the middling players, and I said last week as well, like the drop off from a lot of our older players, I think will free up salary cap space. So if we're looking, let's say in like 4 years' time, the players that definitely won't be there are like Zorko, Neil, Danaher, possibly Charlie Cameron, because they'll all be like 35 or
and Frog will be gone.
They don't strike me, they don't strike me as Zorko types. They can just go forever. So Zorko will probably still be there. And Link McCarthy, and it's like we've got either replacements for them or they will free up salary cap and go and get some players. Like, are you telling me that, like, if you were like a pretty good key forward, and I know that there's some that are being like thrown around this year in terms of like Max King, who I don't rate, and some other people going to Melbourne because Melbourne say they need a key forward or whatever. Are you telling me they wouldn't want to come to the Lions with like the midfield that we've got and like be like, yeah, you'll play with like Hipwood, who's one of the most selfless running gigantors in the game. You'll kick 1 million goals. Go on. Like, if someone was in Tom Lynch's position in a few years' time, like, would they not entertain the idea of going to try and win a premiership or two?
Potentially, yeah. Yeah, potentially.
Of course they would. So I think we're in pretty good shape. Like, I think when we get around the time when Harris and Hipwood both probably drop off, maybe Owi's another one. Like, you know, there's things, but you can't say that there wouldn't be things in place to try and solve these problems first.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
it's not as if like Owi wasn't a spring chicken when he broke into the team either. He was like 25 or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think
we'll be fine.
Dom Ambrosio and Canole, they've done wonders so far. They're no idiots. So if we like, they're just as important to keep on our list as anyone else at this stage because they're as responsible for putting what we've got together as it is. So it helps when you get a couple of father sons that say, "Hey, I wouldn't mind that either." So that definitely
true, but I mean, we earned that right somehow. But as far in terms of Fagan, and yeah, it is a point worth reflecting on. It's like this is our 6th season of playing finals in a row, and to think we did that in 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, and then we didn't. And like, yeah, we won premierships there and we dropped off super hard. There's no reason why we won't play finals next year or be premiership favourites next year, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Well,
if we're not, we should be. And if we're not, people will forget. Like, they always forget about us. Unless we're doing shit.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, we told you.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun the way that works, isn't it? All right. Moving on, Corey, out of all the long-term injured players, who do you think we're missing the most? And he's put forward that he thinks Link is probably...
I threw up my L, but it's backwards, so...
He says he's the most dependable goal kicker who can settle the nerves and his hands are so creative. And yeah, for sure.
I think also he would be a very good person structurally to have around in terms of teachings and stuff.
Yep.
Aside from that, Kadeen Coleman obviously would be great.
It's a tough one to answer at the same time because we've had players to fill the holes. It's like if Link plays, is Lohmann playing as many games as he is, or is he being relegated to sub again? Same thing if with Coleman, you know, Zorko, what role's he playing then? Whereas I guess maybe it's due day as well because our key defence stocks has taken such a massive hit. So to have an extra one or Gardner or someone like that, you know, they would have been handy in this last few weeks as well. So
I think it's like you look at where these people would fit in, and like Kadeen Coleman's like the obvious like A grader, and I'm not to say Link's not an A grader, but he's like a borderline like B plus A minus, I'd say. So it's like, but he would be so good, but then is it the sort of thing where like Bailey spends less time playing forward and is potentially not on the field because, you know,
yeah.
And I think if Coleman goes in, I don't think... Like, Zorko doesn't have the season if Coleman's there.
No, of course not.
So I think I mashed a bunch of words together then and just... It made sense. But I can see next year, like... Round 1, I would be hoping Coleman's in the team and Zorko would be in either, like, the McKenna spot or they would restructure it and you'd have Brain there or you'd have, whatever, Noah Answorth. So... Yeah, we kind of didn't touch on it, but like Link and Zorko both signed on for contract extensions for next year.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad Link has done the year, and I'm also glad Zorko, and I really hope Froggy will be in the next couple of weeks as well with another year deal, because he's been very consistent again this year.
Yep.
All right, Cold Shah. Does the club have a goal kicking coach, and if not, why not?
Because I don't know, can't afford it in the soft cap or some shit.
I'm sure there is someone responsible for it, and I have no doubt that at some point Brownie would have placed a call and said, "Hey, do you want me to come up and spend some time with some people or whatnot?" And you know, Fag said it's not that they don't practice it; like they obviously practice it. It's just one of those things. Like the Bulldogs are suffering with it as well, so.
Yeah, that was funny. Like old mate, the father son and theirs, who like kicked terribly and then smashed 7 the next week.
Yeah.
I guess it just happens. And you look at the way that Ben King was in that game against us, couldn't hit the side of a fucking skyscraper, and he somehow kicked 50 goals this year.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing. It's amazing to think where Joe Danaher could be if he had like kicked half of the ones that he didn't but should have. He'd probably be on like 65 goals, like breathing down Hogan's neck.
Well, do you follow? Oh no, of course you don't. There is a page called Useless AFL Stats, and
That seems like the kind of thing that if I was on social media, I would follow that.
so
That
Joe
and, like Simpsons memes.
Joe has become only the second player in the history of VFL or AFL to kick a behind in every game of the home and away season this year.
That's pretty good. That's a great stat, but I'll raise you one better. And I don't know if you heard this. Marleon Pickett, first game, won a grand final. Last game, won a wooden spoon. No player's ever done that.
That's pretty good.
Football, mate. No, I completed it. It's done.
All right, let's move across to Twitter. Joel, who did you like in the back half? Noah was solid and Connor had his best first half for the year. With Payne back, if the VFL game goes okay, does Joyce get dropped? Is Brain a chance to come back? All of a sudden, it seems like the backline has too many options. And you obviously don't want to be making too many changes in a week one of a final series, but I think Payne...
Looks like we're going to be playing Carlton, to be honest.
Yeah, 4.5 minutes left. Porter 2 goals up. Well, just over 2 goals up, and Hayden Young is back on the bench getting looked at by the doctors. So, yes, looks like we'll be playing Carlton at this stage. Yeah, it's a good point. Suddenly, like our backline, which has just been a revolving door all year, it looks like
But
we've
it's
got a few options.
It's like too many options in the wrong way.
Yeah.
In the wrong places. Because I thought Answorth was really good, and I thought McKenna was pretty good. But, like, there's no way Starcevich doesn't come back straight back in.
Yeah.
Because he's been so consistent when we've been, like, a bit shit. And, yeah, I think if Payne can come back, Payne comes back. Because Joyce is still a little bit iffy on that jaw. Like, I don't think he's not going in Irish hard.
No, but he's still standing under lots of balls that if I'd come back from a broken jaw, I wouldn't be doing it.
You wouldn't do it if you weren't coming back from a broken
Well, that's
jaw.
right. Like I said, I thought his last couple of games have been all right. Yeah, he's prone to a few mistakes, but plenty of players
Name me a player that isn't.
Yeah.
Except for Harris Andrews, who 100% disposal efficiency. But
infallible.
I don't think Brain comes back.
No, I think he's
this
down the
season.
pecking order a bit. I'd have Noah ahead of Brain at this stage. But, I mean, Brain can do some things that Noah can't. Like, I just think back to that Sydney game where Harris is off for, most of the last quarter and Brain takes those 2 key intercept marks and, without those, we don't win the game as well. So, he's obviously got... And, his disposal's pretty good. He just gets caught out defensively a bit too often for mine, and Noah doesn't seem to as much, so...
but it's not it's just because it's not this year doesn't mean it's not at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's the sort of thing that it takes time and,
Yeah, these are all the stuff that's going to make him a good AFL player. And
it's the sort of thing where, we probably... If all of our stocks are fit, he probably doesn't play this year. At all.
No. I don't think anyone expected Shadowbrain to be playing footy this year.
No,
or Bruce, or Logan Morris, or... Yeah.
Yeah. Or even Zorko to be playing as much footy as he has.
Yeah.
So it's weird to think that we're, having these discussions about players that... under any other circumstance would just be like, fuck, he's got a funny name, doesn't he? Brain. That's the extent of the chat about him. And I'm pretty sure if you go back to last year, that's probably it. That's probably the chat we were having about it, not knowing that they can contribute and play well in an actual capacity. And that's great for the whole lot of the team. Yeah. Competition for places. You'd... I think someone a couple of weeks ago said something absolutely and utterly insane. And I know that I say things that are similarly this, but they said, oh, you don't want competition for places because then you're worried about being dropped. And it's like, are you a moron? Competition for places makes you want to be better.
Yeah.
And not competition for places leads to Max King. Anyway.
And look how much better St Kilda are without him.
Oh, yeah.
In answer to your question, Joel, and we'll probably get to it when we do changes. Yeah, I'm keeping Noah. I'm bringing Starcevic back in and Payne in for Dara, and Starcevic in for Sharp.
McKenna.
Well, I don't know.
Or do you put McKenna on the bench show?
I'd sub McKenna. I'd keep McKenna as the sub, yeah, or variations thereof.
I don't like Sharp as the sub. It doesn't lead into the only thing he's really good at, which is banging it.
Yeah. Dale, can we talk about a psychologist? Dunkley, Morris, Rayner, Joe, and Hipwood all have the clear yips. You can probably throw. Oh God,
Dunkley! Can I take Dunkley out of my votes because of that kick? He's out. Get rid of him and put McCluggage in.
It was.
I forgot about that one. That he absolutely. It's the ugliest kick I've seen.
Yeah.
Possibly this season.
And it goes back to, was it last week or the week before? We were talking about how Dunkley can't kick, and that was just like, there it is.
Yeah, so he's out of the votes. McCluggage in. We're retconning that because that was the worst.
It was gross, wasn't it? Yeah, it was gross.
It was so bad. Because it was also funny because they threw up his goal a game stats when he took that mark, and I'm like, the large body that he is and the overhead marking capabilities he has, he should be far more goalie than he is because he's hasn't even kicked 100 goals or something like that. It's like, come on, man, it's not that like and I know it probably is, but it also isn't really.
All right,
Brooksy, you're a sharpshooter. I reckon if you went into one of those YouTube maybe I'm basing this on you 5 years ago, but if you went into this YouTube goal kicking thing, I reckon you'd shred.
I mean, without getting too far into it, I can kick a footy, but there's plenty of other stuff I can't do. I couldn't do a percent of the shit that Josh Dunkley does. But yes, I can kick a ball through sticks.
Yeah, we're not saying that you're better than Josh Dunkley. No. I'm talking about it relative to other YouTubers that do we've got all the best YouTubers to do a goal kicking competition, which if anyone is doing that, sign me up because I need some of the listeners to realize that I'm actually quite athletic. I might sound like a grouchy bastard, but can kick a long way, can hip and shoulder my way through you, Brooksy.
Yes.
And, that's all.
Well, there you go. There's the game iced. Jordan Sweets kicked a goal with 24 seconds left. We will be playing Carlton week 1 of the finals. JC, umpiring was among the worst I've seen at the Gabba, but there was not a murmur from the commentators on any of the clangers. Are you allowed to make front-on contact now? Discuss. Yeah. Now, Joe, it'd be really interesting to see the free kicks that Charlie Curnow gets lined up against the free kicks that Joe Danaher does not get.
Yes.
And what that does to the Coleman board.
I mean, I don't know. I think our guys get held a lot because they're athletic. And even some of the ones when we played Carlton last year's preliminary final, it's just garbage. But yes, they were ridiculous. And some of the marks, non-marks, stuff like that, it's just stupid. Yeah,
there was one to Zorko on the back half wing, and then, one to Joe. And it's they controlled it for 3 to 5 seconds and then just sort of munger it out at the end. And he's piss off. Anyway.
Maybe, no, but I guess Carlton fans do peg fucking bottles at goal umpires. So maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, I did see something today that apparently was a St Kilda supporter trying to throw at a Carlton supporter, missed and hit the goal umpire. So yet to be confirmed on that. But whoever's throwing a fucking bottle
at anyone. What are the chances of that?
Pull your head in, honestly. That's disgusting.
I still want to live in this reality where it was actually a Carlton fan because having been to plenty of games against Carlton and plenty of games against St Kilda, I can tell you which one would be more likely to actually do it. It's the Carlton people. And we'll find out in 2 weeks. Bring your bottles and peg them at Carlton fans.
No.
Don't do that, please.
No. I'm not going to encourage that sort of behaviour, even in jest. All right, James
Just
Barron.
One of these big daddy metal water bottles.
With the set shots, are players taking too much time? Should they consider handing off in some situations or just playing on quicker? I mean,
Daniel Rich doesn't play for us, so it's not really a viable option anymore.
No,
he's the only guy you hand off to, isn't he?
Yeah, if you had to have someone floating out the back to receive a handball around that sort of 50 to 60 metre mark, who would you have that be these days? I think it'd probably be Rayner.
Maybe, but he'd end up passing it. That sort of a thing. I don't know. they're all a bit one-paced, aren't they? Like Zorko's probably not making the distance. McKenna, Wilmort, the Mortar, probably Coleman, but he has one leg, so I don't know. It's one for the philosophers.
Brad, did we really win on Saturday night, or did we just show that we haven't learnt from the last 2 weeks? It was the same missed opportunities and a horrible fourth quarter performance. We've seen it now for 3 weeks in a row. I fear for us in finals. I hope the week off does us some good. Yeah, I agree with all of that.
I mean, we still won.
We did still win, but he's right.
If we'd lost that game, we would have been playing Hawthorn at the MCG.
No, thank you.
So, if you consider Hawthorn at the MCG versus Carlton at the Gabba, I think we won.
Yeah.
And although it probably feels annoying, the like introspection brought in by Neil is probably the way we probably should look at it.
He's right though. There's the same things, and a horrible last quarter, and we know Carlton was definitely the one that did it to us first off the bat this year. Big lead, chased down. So we can't afford to do that again.
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
All right, and Loz, she says, I don't know about you two, but I was originally very pessimistic post-game. Yes, me too. But due to that run from Essendon, but gaining some perspective today, we subbed out Hippie fairly early and clearly took the foot off the gas because of what we have ahead that Essendon don't. So, I mean, maybe that's one way of looking at it, and maybe it was a tactical, all right, let's get Hippie off because let's keep his groins from getting bloody stretched out and sore again. We've already got this game in the bag, so let's just go into save the game mode and get the win. Or maybe it was...
I think save the game mode needs to be a bit better than that, though.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Like, that was not so much save the game as, like, let the game die slowly and thank that the game ended before it died.
Yep.
So, yeah, it was... I don't know. It was a win. Win's a win sometimes, and, like... yeah, I guess you still got to look at it and go, the last two games... We hadn't kicked like morons. And if we hadn't kicked like morons in this one, we would be winning by 1 million.
Yeah.
Do you want to know something frustrating or generally frustrating?
Do I?
I mean, everything's frustrating, but so we have had 2 games where we've lost by a point and 1 draw.
Mm-hmm. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah. So had we not drawn, we would be in 3rd. Just kind of cool. And had we won one of the ones that we didn't win by a point, we'd still be in 3rd. But had we not fucked 2 of them up, we'd be in 2nd. So great. All 3 of them top of the table. So that's good. It's good to know that 2 points is worth that. I heard someone saying that about Collingwood on Friday, aka the dumbest game that ever was. Collingwood and Melbourne.
Yep.
The lightning storm, the commentary, the insanity of talking about the grand final next year. Like, it was insufferable.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then also seeing Collingwood really happy with the result, I just was like, man, you guys are pathetic, and it's funny, but you also won the premiership last year, so that's annoying. Cool.
All right, well, that's it for questions. All that being said, it's time for the changes. You've had enough time to think about it. And I think I sort of, during that...
No, it wasn't time to think about it. It was knowing who our fucking opponent was.
Yeah, okay. Well, now you know. It's Carlton. So I think I've sort of worked it in through there. Noah stays, Starcevic and Payne come in, Dara and Sharp go out, and then there's shuffling the sub. But we're probably a bit halfback heavy for me on that, if I'm honest. And I can't believe I've got McKenna in that team. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets dropped, but he was okay on Saturday night.
Yeah, I reckon I'd go the same as you, but then I'd have McKenna. I think Noah Answorth might not play, and I'd have Rev as a sub if he's not got a splintered shin or whatever.
Now, knowing that small forwards have been our undoing in the last couple of matches, and Carlton have got Motlop, Owies, Durd and Fantasia played today, so they've got some dangerous small forwards. Are you still not having Noah in?
I'm not the coach, and I'm doing what I think the coach will do. Because
for me, I'm keeping Noah and knowing what, Darcy Jones did to us, and then Schultz and McCreary. I think McKenna's likely to get caught out in one of those situations. Motty, not as much. Zorko can get burnt
but you
for
got to
pace.
understand, like, Carlton are peanuts. Like, they'll have Kerner and Mackay back, and they'll just kick it to them the entire time. Like, that's all they'll do.
Very much so, or maybe they've learnt from their last couple of weeks and
they
having...
have not.
Okay.
They will not have learnt.
Okay.
They will not have learnt. So, I'd take someone more damaging. So, yeah, McKenna I'll keep. I like Answorth. I want Answorth to be in the team, but, like...
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Maybe he's a sub, just so that he can, like, do shit anywhere.
Yeah.
But I like Reville. I like our players.
Yeah. I mean, we all do. Yeah, I mean, it depends on Bruce's leg as well, so we'll see.
So generally a bit of that.
Yeah. I think it'll land somewhere in that ballpark, and it'll depend on Jack Payne getting through a VFL game as well, and whatever happens there. So the other thing to mention is that the girls will be playing their first game next week as well, Brighton Homes Arena against North, so the grand final rematch. Yeah. So I think it's a Sunday afternoon game, so that's something to look forward to. I think I'll be heading along to that. I'm looking forward to that very much so.
Beauty.
They've had a couple of practice matches which they've won both. They had one against the Suns and one against, I want to say Richmond, but I could be wrong there.
Could have been Richmond.
I think it was.
Yeah, I saw something pop up at some point in time.
Yeah, it was Richmond. Yeah. So yeah, the girls are looking to go back to back. In the first season in a while, they haven't had their list absolutely pillaged. So
yeah, I remember we were talking about that last year, and you were like, it would be like taking like Lockie Neal and Charlie Cameron out of the team, and then they like pulled it out. Because, what was it, like the expansion clubs or whatever that came in, which is like the Victorian clubs. So there's kind of an irony in that, but
anyway. It's been spoken about to death about the girls at the moment, but yeah, they lost leading goal kicker, best small forward, arguably best midfielder, and the fullback went out to have a baby, so Kate Larkins will be back this year, which will be good as well. But yeah, stable lineup for the first time in a while, so let's see if we can get it done again for the girls, which would be great.
Bit of a shame Fremantle cocked that one up. Carlton people being happy kind of doesn't make me overly happy.
Well, hopefully we can be responsible for them being unhappy again in a couple of weeks' time.
Fancy Fremantle losing 4 straight to end the season.
Yeah, that is one of the all-time fumbles, isn't it?
And I mean, Carlton's lost 4 out of 5. That's also funny. Who would have thought that like West Coast game was really necessary? Probably them and everyone else now. Our form, pretty average.
Well, Fags keeps touching it. Our form's actually been pretty good. We've won 10 of the last 12, and we've lost 2 by wayward kicking. And in those games have dominated 4 periods. Fancy
Gold Coast. Wow, so St Kilda finished ahead of Gold Coast and Melbourne. Melbourne finished 14th. Sucked in Melbourne. What a strange old season. Richmond, bottom, obviously. What are they thinking? Damien Hardwick jumped ship so that he could finish 5 places ahead. Good job. 2 wins. That's bad. 2 wins in a season is terrible. We haven't seen that sort of shit since Carlton in 2018. I'm pretty sure one of those wins was like against us or something.
Probably. Yeah.
2019 maybe. I don't know. Funny.
All right. Well, we'll should we do a chat next week do a proper sort of?
We do like a lightning round.
Yeah,
a VFL and a lead in just to see
Yeah, because we'll know a bit more by then as well.
Sure might, and maybe we'll know if the premiership window will be featuring.
All right. Well, thanks for sticking with us, and we will be playing finals for our 6th year in a row, which is, 10 years ago, hard to believe. So you got to keep some things into perspective, and hopefully we can give it a good shake. The path is there. Beat Carlton and then take on Sydney or GWS and then go from there.
Yeah, we just got to win 4 games all around the country.
Yeah. And just kick it through the
So it looks like the pathway here is that we will go to Sydney after this, regardless.
Yes.
And then either MCG or Adelaide Oval. I think they need to be circumspect this year and go, if it ends up that we play Geelong in a preliminary final here, just fly everyone down and keep them for the week
Ooh,
down here.
you reckon?
Yeah. Just be like, you're Fitzroy now. Just do it. I think that's a good way. And because that's what happened 2 years ago when we played Melbourne, did the Richmond one, played Melbourne, and then played Geelong. We were flying up and back like fucking madmen.
Yeah.
Just stay down here. I reckon.
There's
Just
probably pros and cons for both.
fly everyone down. Just book out some sort of thing.
Some sort of Olympic
Hopefully
village.
That stage. Yeah, this sort of stage, like if it's an interstate grand final, then I mean you're probably laughing in terms of, I mean maybe there would be less accommodation because people would be traveling. I don't understand how that necessarily works, but yeah, just bunker down. That'd be fun. Like a slumber party for 2 weeks, and everyone's invited.
All right. Well, until then, we'll see you next week. Thanks for listening. Catch you next time.